Complex reasons for immigration. In this module, we will take a more in-depth exploration of the complex reasons for immigration in the current moment. Reasons for immigration are vast and complex, encompassing economic, social, political, and environmental factors. Understanding this complexity is crucial for those working directly with immigrants to provide nuanced support and services tailored to diverse needs. Recognizing the multifaceted nature of migration reasons ensures more empathetic and effective assistance, fostering better integration and addressing the unique challenges faced by individuals and communities. Climate change significantly influences migration patterns, primarily through a combination of environmental, economic, and social factors. Some key impacts include environmental displacement. Rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and changing ecosystems can render certain areas uninhabitable, forcing communities to relocate. 2. Resource scarcity. Climate change can lead to shifts in agriculture productivity and the availability of resources, impacting livelihoods and contributing to economic migration. 3. Conflict and instability. Climate-induced environmental changes can contribute to conflicts over resources, leading to political instability and displacement. 4. Humanitarian crises. Extreme weather events such as hurricanes, floods, and droughts can result in sudden and severe humanitarian crises, forcing people to flee their homes. The cumulative impact of climate change can contribute to a broader global displacement crisis. As environmental conditions worsen, an increasing number of people may be compelled to move both internally within their countries and across international borders, leading to complex challenges for governments and communities. Addressing the impacts of climate change on migration requires international cooperation, adaptive strategies, and policies that prioritize the protection and well-being of affected populations. War, conflict, and forced migration. War and conflict lead to forced migration as people flee violence, persecution, and insecurity to seek safety and protection. Armed conflicts create humanitarian crises, with populations facing dire conditions such as lack of food, shelter, and medical care, prompting mass movements of people. There are multiple types of displacement that can be caused. War can lead to refugees crossing international borders, creating complex challenges for neighboring countries and the international community in managing and addressing the needs of displaced populations. Conflict can also force people to move within their own countries, leading to internal displacement as individuals seek safety in different regions away from the conflict zones. Now we will move on to the short-term trauma and psychological impacts. The first place where impacts can occur are with the immediate stressors. War and forced migration expose individuals to immediate stressors, including violence, displacement, and loss, leading to acute psychological distress. These immediate stressors can lead to post-traumatic stress disorder. Many individuals experience symptoms of PTSD, such as flashbacks, nightmares, and hypervigilance, affecting their ability to cope with daily life. Displacement and conflict can also contribute to elevated levels of anxiety and depression, impacting mental well-being in the short term. Long-term trauma and psychological impacts. Prolonged exposure to conflict-related trauma can contribute to chronic mental health conditions, affecting individuals for years or even decades. Even past the individual affected, trauma experienced by one generation may be transmitted to subsequent generations, contributing to a cycle of psychological distress and vulnerability. Forced migration also disrupts social support systems, leading to isolation and difficulties in forming new relationships, which can exacerbate these long-term mental health challenges. Now that we have covered the historical and current contexts of migration, take a moment to think about what you've learned. What does it make you think and feel? How does this new information impact the way you think about your work with immigrant populations? If you can, journal some thoughts using the reflection questions on this slide. Gender-based violence, serves as a catalyst for immigration when individuals, particularly women, face threats, abuse, and discrimination based on their gender. This pervasive violence can force people to flee their home countries, seeking refuge and safety in new environments. Some of these threats include sexual violence, forced or coerced marriages, human trafficking, gender-based forced labor, and transgender discrimination and persecution. State-sponsored violence, rooted in historical legacies of colonization and imperialism, significantly shapes immigration dynamics. State-sponsored violence refers to the use of force, coercion, or repression by a government or its agents against its own citizens. This form of violence can have profound effects on immigration patterns and individuals. While some people seek political asylum, this process may take too long and be too complicated to pursue in the face of imminent threats. Proving threats of violence is a difficult process rife with administrative hurdles that some people with limited education, literacy, and money may find challenging. The decision to migrate is shaped by the intersection of homophobia, transphobia, and racism impacting individuals at the nexus of these identities. The intersectionality of homophobia, transphobia, and racism heightens safety concerns as individuals fear violence and persecution based on multiple aspects of their identity. While many people who identify as part of the LGBTQ+ community may seek refuge in countries with more acceptance or less laws persecuting their identities. However, with the understanding that their other intersecting identities, including immigration status, may also create vulnerabilities for them in the country they migrate to. Understanding that identities are intersectional is an important part of learning about the spectrum of immigration experiences. Now that we have covered the role of gender in the decision to immigrate, take a moment to think about what you've learned. What does it make you think and feel? How does this new information impact the way you think about your work with immigrant populations? If you can, journal some thoughts using the reflection questions on this slide.